You would think by now that I would be tired of saying, "I told you so." Well, I'm not, and so I'm going to. Jurassic World Rebirth is one of the worst movies of the year. I said so in my spoiler-filled review just a few days ago, and kind of caught the wrath of, all the people with very tender feelings out there. And that's fine. They didn't see the movie, and I did, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, it is not good. Even people who enjoyed themselves at the movie are willing to admit that it's not good, which would include Polly. So, am I going to start to show you that even the Shills are hating on this movie now? Of course I am. Here we go. Welcome back, Culturians. Do me a favor real quickly before we start into the main story and double check that you're still subscribed to the channel. Even if you don't like my opinions, I will inform and entertain you each and every time I do one of these videos and or live streams, and I do an awful lot of them, much to the chagrin of my haters. And apparently I have a few now. Anyway, let's get into the video proper and talk about the fact that even the Shills have no interest in this film. Let's start first with Metacritic. Now, Metacritic just released this piece of information, which I appreciate since the embargoes are all over now. So everybody can start to dive into talking about just how bad this film is and why. And believe it or not, Scarlett Johansson is a large part of why this isn't a very good film. Of course, so is everybody else that was acting in it, the director, the producers specifically, and of course, the main culprit, the writers. Metacritic says this is a 56, as you can see on the screen. This is based on 31 reviews, so it's not a handful, it's plenty. You've got almost 3 score in there telling you that this is a bad score of 56. We move on to Rotten Tomatoes. Well, this is not a surprise to anybody, at least it shouldn't be, in as much as they came up to a 58. Now, these scores were lower before, but they're going to change and bounce up and down, and they're going to try to favor releasing the more positive things here because, well, they don't want Lucasfilm to, be caught losing money for Universal too, because that's exactly what's happening here. We'll get into that in a moment. You've got this from the inverse saying, Rebirth might be the worst Jurassic Park sequel yet. And I rarely, if ever, agree with inverse, but here I'm going to have to agree. And yet it gets even worse than that as we go to IGN, the shill of shills, to take a look at their review. Jurassic World Rebirth review, another lost world. That's right. It's terrible. It's not well done. And this fella here is probably telling you that right now. Clint Cage wrote the article itself. Wednesday, July 2nd is your first opportunity to see this going into July 4th weekend, which if you're counting days, weekend is now 6 days. Maybe. I don't know. I do know this. The world part of this brings this right up front along with the climate message that a lot of people are going to get frustrated with. But set all of that aside, there's plenty of other things to be frustrated with in this movie, and it's not scoring well with critics at all, which would also include Vanity Fair, the hoitiest of toity out there. And you will see that even Jurassic World Rebirth isn't sure why it exists. That's not stellar by any means. In fact, in the larger article, it says this pointless sequel has its merits, but it does little to sustain a sagging franchise. It doesn't have very many merits there, Mr. Lawson. I disagree with you vehemently. This thing was hot garbage beginning to end, including the checkbox mafia that was released upon us all in the form of the cast. I don't know anything about the crew other than the director and the producers, who you should have expected this from a Kathleen Kennedy operated company, and Lucasfilm specifically, which I thought was doing Disney stuff, but apparently they have to do all the stuff for Universal's Jurassic World. Yeah, great. And when you have a little bit of snark, which you get from time to time from Vanity Fair, starting out with, oh look, another island. Just when you thought the Jurassic series of movies was out of juice, a new remote tropical locale full of dinosaurs has been discovered. What remarkable luck. I don't know about luck, I think it's more like punishment, but hey, that's just my opinion. Go and watch the movie, develop your own, and then maybe you won't have so much hate for your Culturian leadership, and you will join the cult of Culturians and become one of the warriors against the silliness of the pop culture social engineering experiment that we've been subjected to since, well, way back to 2009, as a matter of fact. Let's get to the actual article that inspired today's video over at World of Real. Jordan saves the day and writes the thing that we're going to cover today. Jurassic World Rebirth reviews aren't good. Well, I could have told you that. In fact, I did tell you that days earlier after I saw the film, which I will continue to try to go to various screenings early to give you my thoughts so you don't waste your money. This is going to be a tremendous waste of money, and I would put that money in your pocket for a rainy day or a trip to McDonald's. Both of those would be more profitable than going to see this garbage film. According to Jordan, the Jurassic World franchise might have just hit the point of no return. I would suggest they did that after the third film of the original trilogy, but hey, that's just me. What was once a thrilling cinematic event, a benchmark for blockbuster spectacle, at least in the 90s, has now become a faded shell. Yes, it's a rambling husk, it's a zombie of its former self, and not in a good way. And unfortunately, this movie is a slow-moving zombie that you have to stick around for 2 hours and about 15 minutes, or just shy of that. And none of it's terribly entertaining, with at least 5 points at which you could probably catch a cat nap and wake up when the music swells and you wouldn't really miss much. This has been recycled and reassembled by studio machinery without a trace of soul. And if you're saying it's soulless, Jordan, you're 100% right. The latest entry has now had its embargo lift, and the reviews aren't good, landing a dismal 54 on Metacritic, that was just a couple hours ago, and 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, again, they always save some good ones to drop in and hold back some bad ones so they can try to lift a film for its opening weekend. That's how badly Rotten Tomatoes is compromised, is that they favor the studios over the audience. So why do you use that anyway? The consensus, of course, is the lifeless characters, a paper-thin plot, and a film that plays like a highlight reel of better movies before it. Not to mention how dismally predictable it is. You will know, because it's telegraphed well in advance, which character is going to die next. I don't know why that was done that way, but maybe because people may actually appreciate feeling like they're on top of a film. I do not. I want you to actually have some surprises and make the eliminations of the superfluous characters a little more random and, of course, unpredictable. But Gareth Edwards, who I guess was given credit for doing a good job with Rogue One, I still don't see it, and Godzilla, which again is kind of a little bit lifeless and hollow, was brought on to helm what Universal touted as a bold new direction. Yes, female-centered girl boss. And you know what? The movie was actually marketed that way, so kudos to them. The thing is, they didn't miss with the marketing on this, where they did miss on Ballerina. There's not a better movie hiding in here somewhere. And largely, I would blame that on the writing, and it looks like Jordan does as well, because he wouldn't be surprised if they used David Cope's first draft on this one, and this feels like a very first draft movie. It was too long. It was unorganized. There were too many sitting around a table talking about our feelings moments in here for anybody to enjoy. All because they wanted to drop a bunch of exposition on you from these characters so that you might feel something about them, which you won't, and especially not with the performance of ScarJo, and believe it or not, almost all the other surrounding actors. Jordan actually agrees with me, saying, indeed, much of Rebirth feels ritualized. Fan service comes first, logic second, and apparently a story comes dead last. Dinosaurs emerge in dramatic lighting, characters appear spouting exposition, and disappearing again, which happens multiple times in this film. Meanwhile, the human element, once the moral core of Jurassic Park, is all but extinct. In fact, I would say it is a pretty lifeless film for something that's supposed to be teeming with it. But the real issue, though, isn't that Rebirth is the worst Jurassic film. Jordan says it's not. I disagree. It's that it's just another one. Again, stamping out the cheese whiz, or grinding it out, depending upon what version of that song you've heard. That's what's killing the franchise. Sameness. That's right. Also killing suburban America in the sea of same. You've probably heard that before. It was coined about 2 decades ago, and it still exists today. just stamped out sameness that you don't seem to be able to escape. Only this time, that sameness comes with an extra double-fisted helping of the message and climate stuff. Yay. And yet, there's one piece of wisdom here that I think Jordan throws at us, which is critics didn't turn on this movie because it tried something bold and failed. They turned on it because they didn't try at all. And I think that's clear for probably everybody involved in this, except for maybe the crew behind the scenes. Jurassic World Rebirth stands as another warning sign. Legacy franchises can't survive on spectacle alone, and there was very little of that. You need characters to care about, you need a story that's worth investing in. And like all of the other shills out there that are going to try to come true for the first time in a long time, I don't think that critic scores will be any higher, and I think that the audience scores will be even lower. But hey, that's my opinion. That's the story from World of Real, and that's all of Shill Media coming down hard on a disastrous dinosaur movie. If you disagree, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. Try to pretend like you at least watched the whole video before you react, and tell me, I have a D&D beard or whatever other insults you think are going to bother me, and just come through with some actual conversation, because I actually like that part of YouTube. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya! But certainly not at this movie.